I woke up to someone whispering my name from just outside my tent. Not shouting, not calling, whispering, soft enough that I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. Caleb, 3 syllables. Perfectly calm, perfectly familiar. The problem was, I had been camping alone, and my nearest co-worker was over 3 miles away. I work as a park ranger at Pine Hollow National Forest. If you've ever visited a large national park, you probably think the campsites are scattered randomly across the wilderness. They're not. Every campsite exists for a reason. Every empty stretch between them exists for an even bigger one. Visitors spend the night inside numbered campsites. Rangers spend our lives making sure nobody stays anywhere in between. Most people assume it's because of wildlife. Bears, mountain lions, flash floods. That's what the signs say. That's what we tell tourists. The truth is much harder to explain because something lives between the campsites, and it only moves after sunset. My first week on the job, I thought the senior rangers were trying to scare the rookie. Noah Briggs had worked Pine Hollow for nearly 28 years. He was quiet, rarely smiled, and never wasted words. On my second day, he handed me a folded map instead of introducing himself. Don't lose this. I unfolded it. It looked like a normal campground map. Roads, trails, camp numbers, water sources. Nothing unusual. I already downloaded the digital version, I said. He took the paper map back, folded it carefully, and placed it into my shirt pocket. You'll use this one. I have GPS. No, you have batteries. Then he walked away. At the time, I thought he was just old-fashioned. I was wrong. Very wrong. That afternoon, every new ranger attended orientation. Most of it covered the usual things. Medical emergencies, search and rescue, wildlife encounters. Then the superintendent entered. Instead of a slideshow, he carried a wooden box. Inside were laminated cards. He handed one to each of us. Across the top it read, Night Operations. There were only 6 rules. Rule 1, never hike between campsites after sunset. Rule 2, if you hear another campsite that doesn't appear on your map, turn around immediately. Rule 3, if you see lantern light where no campsite should exist, report it. Do not investigate. Rule 4, never count tents after dark. Rule 5, if a camper says they walked from a campsite that doesn't exist on your map, treat them as injured and contact dispatch immediately. Rule 6, if you hear someone calling your name from the trees, do not answer until you can see their face. One of the rookies laughed. Another asked if this was some kind of tradition. Nobody else smiled. The superintendent simply said, questions. Nobody asked any. Later, I caught Noah loading equipment into his truck. You actually expect me to believe those rules? He kept tightening a cargo strap. I expect you to survive. Come on. Campsites don't just appear. They don't. He finally looked at me, but things between them do. Then he climbed into the truck and drove away. For almost 3 months, nothing happened. The job was exactly what I'd expected. Lost hikers, medical calls, broken trail signs, occasional black bears stealing coolers. I started forgetting the laminated card entirely. Until September, Labor Day weekend, the busiest camping weekend of the year. Every site was full. Families, backpackers, retirees. Campfires burned across the valley like tiny orange stars. Around 7, that evening dispatch called. Ranger Mercer, go ahead. Site 22 reports hearing children laughing in the woods. I smiled. Probably kids from 21. There was a pause. 21 is empty. I checked my schedule. She was right. Maintenance had closed it 2 weeks earlier because a dead oak threatened to fall across the fire pit. No one should have been camping there. I'll check it. The hike took 15 minutes. Site 22 sat exactly where it should, occupied by an older couple from Colorado. They looked genuinely nervous. The husband pointed toward the trees. It keeps happening. What does? The laughing. Kids, we thought so, but it never gets closer. It never gets farther away. It's just, he searched for the words. Between us. I frowned. Between what? Our campsite and the next one. The next campsite should have been 23. Barely 300 yards away. Close enough to hear voices on quiet nights. I listened. At first, nothing. Then I heard it. Children laughing. 3 of them, maybe 4, playing, happy, normal, except the sound didn't come from ahead, or behind, or left, or right. It came from the empty stretch of forest separating the campsites, exactly where there shouldn't have been anything. I grabbed my flashlight. I'm going to take a look. The older woman immediately grabbed my sleeve. No, her voice shook. It stopped every time we looked. I hesitated. The laughter continued. Soft, playful, almost inviting. I took 3 steps toward the trees anyway. The laughter stopped instantly. Silence. Complete silence. Even the insects quit. I swept my flashlight across the undergrowth. Nothing. No footprints. No movement. No children. Then, my radio crackled. Not dispatch. Static. Beneath the static, I heard another ranger. Calm. Professional. Unit 12. I've located campsite 21. I frowned. There was no Unit 12 working that night, and campsite 21 was closed. The unknown ranger continued. There are 7 occupied tents. I'll start notifying the campers. My stomach tightened. 7 tents? That campsite only had 4 pads. I raised my radio. This is Ranger Mercer. Identify yourself. The transmission stopped. Then, after several long seconds, the same calm voice answered. Caleb, why are you standing between the campsites? Every muscle in my body locked. I hadn't given my name over the radio. I hadn't checked in with dispatch. There was no reason for whoever was transmitting to know who I was. The voice came back, calm, patient, like it genuinely expected an answer. Caleb, it's getting dark. You shouldn't still be there. The radio fell silent again. I stared into the trees. Nothing moved. No footsteps. No branches shifting. Just darkness settling over the forest. Then I remembered Rule 6. If you hear someone calling your name from the trees, do not answer until you can see their face. The voice hadn't come from the trees. It had come from my radio. I wasn't sure if that made it better or worse. I backed away without taking my eyes off the woods. The older couple immediately noticed something had changed. You heard it. I nodded once. Pack your truck. What? Right now? We paid for 3 nights. I know. I'll find you another campsite. The husband didn't argue. Whatever he saw on my face convinced him. By the time they finished loading their gear, the last sunlight had almost disappeared. Dispatch answered on the first call. Status: I need another campsite for 22. Reason: I hesitated, then lied. Bear activity. Dispatch didn't question it. She simply assigned them Site 9 on the opposite side of the park. As the couple drove away, I noticed something strange. Neither of them looked back. People always look back. At forgotten chairs. At campfires. At things they might have left behind. These two kept their eyes fixed straight ahead, like they were afraid the forest might wave goodbye. I stayed long enough to make sure they reached the road. Then I started hiking back. According to my map, Ranger Cabin 4 was less than 20 minutes away. The trail was familiar. I'd walked it dozens of times. 10 minutes later, I passed campsite 22 again. I stopped. No, that wasn't possible. I'd been walking north. The campsite was south. I checked my compass. Still pointed north. I unfolded the paper map Noah had given me months earlier. The trail I stood on wasn't the trail printed on the page anymore. A new path had appeared. Thin, hand-drawn, running directly between campsite 22 and the closed campsite 21. I blinked. The line disappeared. The map looked normal again. A twig snapped somewhere behind me. I spun around. Nobody. Then another snap. Closer. Not footsteps. More like something carefully copying the sound of footsteps. One crack. Pause. Another crack. Pause. Always matching the rhythm of someone walking. Except, nothing was there. I turned off my flashlight. Instantly, I saw it. About 60 yards away. A lantern. Old-fashioned. Warm yellow light. Swinging gently between the trees. Exactly where there shouldn't have been a campsite. Rule 3 flashed through my mind. If you see lantern light where no campsite should exist, report it. Do not investigate. I raised my radio. Dispatch. No response. Only static. Then another voice. Female this time. Campfires ready. Come eat. I froze. That wasn't dispatch. It sounded comforting. like someone's mother calling everyone to dinner. The lantern moved, slowly, not toward me, away from me, as though expecting me to follow. Every instinct screamed that there had to be campers lost in the woods. Maybe they'd set up illegally. Maybe someone needed help. Maybe. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The lantern wasn't lighting the trees around it, only itself. The forest remained completely dark, like the light couldn't touch anything except the object carrying it. I took one step backward. The lantern stopped moving. Another step. It moved again, keeping exactly the same distance between us. Waiting. Suddenly, children laughed again. This time, behind me. I turned. Nothing. The lantern was gone. Only darkness remained. I made it back to Ranger Cabin 4 just before full nightfall. Noah was sitting on the porch drinking black coffee. He looked up once. You saw one. It wasn't a question. I nodded. The lantern. He sighed heavily. I was hoping you'd last longer. You knew. I knew September started yesterday. What does that mean? He stared into the trees. It means they're walking again. He invited me inside. The cabin walls were covered with maps. Hundreds of them. Same forest. Different years. Different trail systems. Entire mountains seemed to move from one map to another. What is all this? History. The park changed. He shook his head. The park doesn't. What lives in it does. He pointed at 2 campsites. 21. 22. There. That's the shortest gap between campsites. So, he looked at me. That's where they usually cross. Who's they? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened an old Ranger logbook. The pages were yellow with age. One entry had been circled. October 3rd, 1989. Heard laughter between sites 21 and 22. Followed lantern. Found campsite not listed on map. Counted 8 tents. The report ended there. No signature. No follow-up. What happened to him? Noah quietly closed the book. He was never seen again. I swallowed hard. Then who wrote the report? Noah looked directly into my eyes. That's the problem. A loud knock interrupted us. 3 slow knocks. Exactly 3. We both froze. Nobody should have been visiting after dark. Noah whispered, "Don't open it." The knocking came again. Then a man's voice. Calm. Friendly. "Evening, Rangers. My family's looking for campsite 21. Noah slowly reached for the shotgun hanging beside the door. His voice dropped almost to a whisper. "Whatever you hear, don't look through the window." The man knocked again. 3 slow knocks. Exactly the same rhythm. Never louder. Never softer. Just patient. Like he knew we'd answer eventually. I instinctively took a step toward the front window. Noah grabbed my wrist so hard it hurt. I said, "Don't. It's probably just a lost camper." "No. It's something hoping you think that." The voice outside spoke again. Still calm. Still friendly. "My little girl is cold. We've been walking for hours. We just need directions." There was a little girl's voice behind him. "Daddy, I'm tired." It sounded heartbreakingly real. Every instinct I had screamed to help them. That's what Rangers do. People get lost. People panic. People need help. Noah seemed to read my mind. They know that. The knocking stopped. Silence settled over the cabin. Then, footsteps, walking slowly around the outside wall. Crunch, crunch, crunch. They circled the cabin once, twice, 3 times, always the same pace. The footsteps stopped beneath the bedroom window. A little girl's voice whispered, "Can I come inside now?" My skin crawled. The bedroom window sat nearly 7 feet above the ground. No child could reach it. Something scratched the glass. Not fingernails. Something sharper. Long. Slow. Careful scratches. Noah reached into a kitchen drawer and removed a thick black marker. Without saying a word, he drew a single vertical line down the inside of the front door. Then another on every window. "What are you doing?" "They don't like straight lines." That sounded ridiculous, until the scratching stopped immediately. The silence lasted nearly a minute. Then we heard the family walking away. The father, the daughter. Another set of footsteps I hadn't noticed before. 3 people, maybe 4. Their voices faded into the trees. I finally relaxed. They're gone. Noah didn't move. "No, they want us to think they left." He pointed toward the clock. "Watch." The cabin clock ticked normally. Then, The second hand froze. 21 seconds. 22. 23. It didn't move. Time itself seemed to hesitate. Then, every clock inside the cabin started ticking backward. 1 second. 2. 3. The scratching returned. This time, from inside the walls. Not outside. Inside, something slowly dragged long fingers through the insulation, moving around us. Searching. The radio suddenly activated. Dispatch. All units. Please confirm visual count. Noah immediately grabbed the radio. No visual. Dispatch repeated herself. Confirm visual count. He switched the radio off. What was that about? He looked genuinely unsettled. They've never asked that before. What were they asking us to count? He didn't answer. Instead, he slowly walked into the bedroom. I followed. The scratching stopped the instant we entered. He pointed toward the ceiling. I listened. At first, nothing. Then I heard breathing. Someone was above us. Slow, steady, like a person lying flat on the roof. The breathing moved, crawling, very slowly, across the cabin, from one side to the other. The wooden beams creaked under its weight. Whatever it was big, far too heavy to be a person. Suddenly, it stopped directly over my head. Noah whispered, "Don't breathe." I tried, really tried, but panic made it impossible. I inhaled once, very quietly. The breathing above me stopped instantly. Complete silence. Then, one enormous handprint pressed into the ceiling. The wood bent downward, not breaking, stretching. 5 impossibly long fingers slowly pushed through the old timber. Not all the way, just enough to leave deep impressions. Something was feeling for us. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink. The hand slowly slid across the ceiling, searching, 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 until it reached the bedroom door. Then it disappeared. The weight lifted from the roof. The cabin groaned as whatever stood above us climbed away. One heavy step, another, another, then nothing. We waited nearly 10 minutes before Noah spoke. It found the cabin. What was it? He shook his head. We don't give them names. Why? Because names make things easier to remember. And remembering them, he looked toward the dark window. Helps them remember you. Neither of us slept. Around 4 in the morning, dispatch finally reached us again. This time her voice sounded normal. Almost. Morning patrol. Need someone to inspect campsite 21. Noah immediately answered. It's closed. Long silence. Then dispatch replied, No, it isn't. He stared at the radio. It was yesterday. No records show that. The line disconnected. At sunrise, we drove to campsite 21. The dead oak tree was gone. The warning tape was gone. The maintenance signs were gone. Families filled every campsite. Children laughed. Breakfast cooked over campfires. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. I walked to the information board. The reservation list had been updated. Site 21. Occupied. For guests. Checked in yesterday afternoon. No, I whispered. That's impossible. The family smiled as we approached. Mother, father, teenage son, little girl. The father waved cheerfully. Beautiful morning, Ranger. We slept great. Noah asked quietly, What time did you arrive yesterday? The father smiled. Yesterday, we've been camping here for 3 days. 3 days. That couldn't be true. I had personally closed this campsite less than 24 hours earlier. The little girl looked up at me, completely innocent. Then she asked, Why didn't you follow our lantern? My blood turned to ice. Before I could answer, I noticed something beside their fire pit. A 5th camping chair, still warm, still rocking gently. No one was sitting in it, but someone had just gotten up. The chair kept rocking. Forward, back, forward, back. No wind, no one touching it. Just enough movement to tell me someone had been sitting there only moments ago. I counted automatically. Father, mother, teenage son, little girl. For people. 5 chairs. The father noticed where I was looking. He smiled. Oh, that's for our neighbor. Noah's expression hardened. What neighbor? The father casually pointed toward the trees. He visits every evening. My pulse immediately spiked. What does he look like? The father shrugged. We've never seen him. He just sits with us after sunset. The little girl giggled. He knows everybody's name. Noah stepped backward. Pack your things. The father laughed. We're checking out tomorrow. No, now. The mother frowned. Is there a fire? No. A bear? No. Then why? Noah didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the fifth chair, then quietly asked, when did you notice it? The family exchanged confused looks. The teenage son answered, it's always been there. I looked at Noah. His jaw tightened. They're already forgetting. Without another word, he grabbed the fifth chair. The moment he lifted it, every bird in the forest stopped singing. The campground became completely silent. Dozens of campers looked around in confusion. No one understood why, except us. Then, the chair suddenly became unbelievably heavy. Noah lost his grip. It crashed back onto the ground. The wooden legs sank nearly 6 inches into solid earth, like it weighed hundreds of pounds. The little girl frowned. You made him angry. My stomach dropped. Who? She looked toward the trees. The one walking home. I turned instinctively. Nothing. Only pine trees. Morning sunlight. Normal forest. Then I noticed something impossible. Between campsite 21 and 22, there were footprints. Huge ones. Fresh. Deep enough to crush rocks into the soil. They crossed the empty space between both campsites, exactly as if something enormous had walked there during the night. Noah saw them too. He immediately unfolded his paper map. His face turned pale. What? He silently handed it to me. Another campsite had appeared. Number 21A, printed between 21 and 22. I blinked. It vanished. The map looked normal again. You saw it. I think so. He nodded. That's enough. Back at headquarters, Noah locked himself inside the records room. I followed. He pulled out dozens of missing person files. Every victim had disappeared. Between 2 campsites. Never inside one. Never on the trails. Always between them. One photograph stopped me cold. A ranger. Young. Maybe 30. Standing beside Noah. Both smiling. I pointed. Who's that? Noah looked down. His expression changed instantly. I don't know. What? I should, but I don't. The nameplate beneath the photograph had been scratched away. Only one word remained. Partner. Noah slowly touched the frame. I remember working with someone. I don't remember his face. I don't remember his name. I only remember, he closed his eyes, that he disappeared. The room suddenly became freezing cold. The overhead lights dimmed. Every photograph on the wall tilted at exactly the same angle. Not falling, turning, as though everyone inside them was looking toward the doorway. Neither of us moved. Then, someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. From inside the records room. There was no second door. Only 4 solid walls. The knock came again. This time, from behind one of the filing cabinets. Noah whispered. It found another way. A drawer slowly slid open by itself. Inside wasn't paperwork. It was dirt. Fresh forest soil. Packed tightly inside the cabinet. Something beneath the dirt moved. A hand emerged. Gray. Thin. Human enough to recognize. Wrong enough to terrify me. It didn't reach for us. It reached for one file. The missing ranger's photograph. It pulled the folder underground. The drawer slammed shut. The lights returned instantly. Everything looked normal again. Except the photograph Noah had shown me was gone. Not just missing from the wall. Gone. The empty hook where it had hung looked years old. Dust surrounded it, like nothing had been there for decades. Noah stared silently, then whispered, He never worked here. You just showed me. No, I thought I did. He looked genuinely frightened. Not because something disappeared, because his own memory had changed while he was awake. Dispatch suddenly interrupted over the intercom. All available rangers. Report to the observation tower. Immediately, when we reached the fire tower, every ranger in headquarters was already looking through binoculars. No one spoke. Helen simply handed me a pair. Look west. I raised them. At first, I saw campsites. 25, 26, 27, normal. Then, something moved between them. Not walking, not crawling, sliding. A shadow, too tall to be human, too thin to be an animal. It passed through the open ground between campsites, and every camper nearby unconsciously turned to wave at it. None of them looked afraid. None of them even seemed to realize they were waving. The shadow reached the next empty stretch and disappeared. Then, every map inside the observation tower changed at once. One new campsite appeared, number 26A, exactly where the shadow had vanished. And beneath the new campsite symbol, someone had written one sentence in handwriting that matched my own. Don't let it build another one. Nobody in the tower spoke. Every ranger stared at the map. The new campsite hadn't existed 5 seconds earlier. Now it appeared on every copy. Paper maps, digital maps, wall charts, even the emergency evacuation board. Site 26A. Capacity for campers. Amenities, fire ring, water pump, restrooms. It looked like it had been part of the park for decades. I turned to Helen. Tell me you don't actually have a campsite 26A. She didn't answer. Instead, she asked dispatch to pull the reservation database. A few seconds later, dispatch's voice came over the speaker. Site 26A is fully booked through October. The room went silent. That's impossible. No, Helen whispered. It already happened. Noah grabbed the radio. When did 26A open? The dispatcher paused, then answered confidently. 1987. Noah slowly lowered the microphone. He had worked here since 1996. He had never heard of it. The tower phone rang. Nobody moved. It rang again, then again. Helen finally picked it up. She listened for almost 10 seconds without speaking. When she hung up, she looked directly at me. They're asking why no ranger has inspected 26A today. My stomach turned. The regional office. They know about it. She nodded slowly. They've always known. Noah whispered. No, they've always believed. That sentence hit me harder than anything I'd heard all day. There was a difference. A terrifying one. 20 minutes later, 3 of us were driving toward the new campsite. Helen, Noah, me. Nobody wanted to go, but none of us trusted anyone to go alone. The paper map changed twice during the drive. The GPS changed 5 times. The road itself never did. Finally, we reached the trail marker. Fresh timber, bright green paint, exactly like every official trail sign in the park. It read, Campsite 26A, 0.4 miles, though it still smelled freshly cut. Noah ran one finger across the carved letters. They're getting faster. What is? He looked toward the forest. Construction. The hike took only 10 minutes. Halfway there, we passed another family hiking toward the parking lot. Perfectly normal. The father smiled. Morning. Beautiful campground. Helen stopped him. Did you stay at 26A? Sure did. Great place. We'll be back next summer. She asked the question carefully. How long has it been here? The man laughed. My whole life. They continued walking. None of them looked frightened. When they disappeared around the bend, Helen quietly said, they'll never remember another answer. The campsite appeared suddenly. No gradual clearing. No transition. One step, dense forest. The next, perfect campground. For level tent pads. Stone fire ring. Picnic table. Fresh gravel. Brand new information board. Everything looked untouched, as though it had opened that morning. Except, there were no construction marks. No tire tracks. No footprints. No signs that anyone had ever built it. The fire pit was warm. Someone had used it recently. I walked to the registration post. Inside sat a logbook. The first page was dated. Every page after that contained thousands of signatures. Families, scout troops, couples, backpackers, 38 years of campers. I flipped randomly to the middle. One signature caught my eye. Noah Briggs, July 2002. I showed him. He stared at it. I've never been here. The handwriting matched perfectly. Then I found another. Helen Cross. She shook her head immediately. No, I would have remembered. Would she? After everything we'd seen, none of us sounded confident anymore. The campground looked empty, until I noticed smoke rising through the trees. One occupied tent, far into the clearing. Blue canvas, exactly the same shade as the impossible campsite months earlier. Someone stepped outside. An older woman, gray hair, hiking boots, friendly smile. Oh, I didn't know rangers were coming. She seemed completely normal. She introduced herself as Margaret, retired schoolteacher, camping alone for 3 nights. Her reservation papers were completely legitimate. Helen quietly asked, "Did anyone camp beside you last night?" Margaret smiled. "Oh yes, a lovely family. They packed up early. There aren't any tire tracks." They walked. My pulse quickened. "Walked where?" Margaret pointed toward the forest. "To the next campsite." "There isn't another campsite." She frowned. "Of course there is." She pointed directly into dense woodland. No trail, no clearing, nothing. I could hear them laughing all evening. Noah slowly turned toward the trees. "I hear them now." I listened. Nothing. Helen listened. Nothing. Only Noah heard it. He walked forward without realizing it. 1 step, 2, 3, straight toward the woods. I grabbed his shoulder. He looked confused. "What? Where are you going?" He blinked several times. I thought somebody called me. Then, we all heard it. Not laughter, not voices. A campsite. The unmistakable sounds of people cooking dinner. Metal utensils. Campfire. Children playing. Dogs barking. Generators humming. Everything you'd expect from a busy campground. Except, there was nothing there. Only trees. The sounds continued. Perfectly clear. Like an invisible campground existed just beyond the first row of pines. Margaret smiled. "They're friendly. You should meet them." Then she looked directly at me. Her expression changed. Not much. Just enough. Like she suddenly recognized me. "Oh," she whispered. "So, you're the one who keeps delaying it." Before I could ask what she meant, the campground information board behind us creaked loudly. A fresh sheet of paper slowly slid out from inside it. Nobody touched it. The paper fluttered once, then stopped. Across the top, in official National Park Service lettering, it read, "Campsite Expansion Notice. New campsite 26B opens tonight at sunset." Beneath that, under the list of future reservations, the very first name had already been printed. Ranger Caleb Mercer, permanent occupancy. I stared at the paper until the letters blurred. My name, employee ID, even my emergency contact information. Everything was correct. At the bottom, someone had already signed the reservation. Not me, but the signature looked exactly like mine. Helen ripped the notice off the board. The paper immediately grew heavy. Not metaphorically. Physically. She nearly dropped it. "What the?" She handed it to me. It weighed almost nothing. "It only does that with people who aren't assigned." Noah whispered. "Assigned." The word sat in my head like a stone. Margaret quietly packed away her coffee mug. "You should hurry." "What?" She looked toward the empty woods. "Once 26B finishes, it won't need another camper." Then she smiled. The same warm smile. The same friendly expression. Except, none of it reached her eyes anymore. "We've all been waiting for yours." Helen grabbed my arm. "We're leaving. Now." The moment we stepped onto the trail, every sound behind us stopped. No birds. No campers. No dishes clinking. Nothing. I looked back once. Only once. The campsite was gone. Not abandoned. Gone. No fire pit. No tables. No gravel. Only untouched forest. Yet, the campground smell remained. With smoke, coffee, breakfast bacon, all drifting from empty trees. We hurried toward the trucks. Nobody spoke. Halfway down the trail, we found footprints. 3 sets. Fresh. 1 belonged to Noah. 1 belonged to Helen. The third matched mine. Except, the third set wasn't beside us. It walked ahead, by about 20 feet. I stopped. "So, who made those?" Neither answered, because they didn't know. The footprints suddenly stopped. All at once, like whoever made them had simply vanished. Back at headquarters, the parking lot looked unusually full. Tourists everywhere. Families asking questions. Children buying souvenirs. Normal, until I noticed the campground map displayed outside the visitor center. 26B had already been added, complete with photographs, reviews, accessibility information, average customer rating, 5 stars. 1 review read, "Beautiful place. Stayed forever." It had been posted 23 minutes ago. I opened the official park website. The same campsite appeared online. Reservation calendar. Availability. Photos. Even drone footage. The drone footage showed something that made my stomach twist. At the center of campsite 26B stood a ranger, talking with visitors, helping children, giving directions, smiling. It was me, not someone who looked like me. Me. Same uniform, same beard, same scar on my left thumb from falling off my bicycle when I was 12. Every detail. The timestamp read, live feed. No, I whispered. Helen quietly closed my laptop. Don't watch it. That's impossible. It is. But it's happening. I grabbed my truck keys. I'm driving there. No, we have to stop this. Noah stepped directly in front of me. You can't stop something that already remembers succeeding. I shoved past him. I have to see it. Neither of them followed. The drive should have taken 12 minutes. Instead, I arrived after 6. The road had somehow become shorter. The entrance sign welcomed visitors. Campsite 26B, now open. Cars filled the parking area. Families unloaded coolers. Children chased each other. Everything looked completely normal. No one questioned why a ranger looked terrified. I walked into the campground. People smiled politely. One little boy waved. A woman asked where the nearest restroom was. Nothing felt wrong until I reached the center. There I was, standing beside the information board, talking to a young couple, laughing. He looked exactly like me, moved exactly like me, even scratched the back of his neck the same way I always did when I was nervous. The couple thanked him and walked away. Then, the other Caleb slowly turned toward me, like he'd known I was there the entire time. He smiled, not cruelly, sadly, almost sympathetically. You shouldn't have come. His voice was mine, exactly mine. I couldn't speak. He stepped closer. So, which one of us remembers being real? My mouth finally worked. You're not me. He tilted his head. I know. That's what I said the first time. The sentence hit me harder than anything else. First time, he reached into his pocket, pulled out an old paper map. The same paper map Noah had given me on my first day. Same fold marks. Same handwritten notes. Except, his map contained one extra campsite. My own. He gently offered it to me. You've been walking toward it since the day you were hired. I wasn't hired. You were checked in. The wind suddenly picked up. Every campground map around us fluttered at once. Every visitor stopped moving. Every conversation ended. Every head slowly turned toward us. Hundreds of eyes. Watching. Waiting. Then every camper smiled together. Exactly together. No delay. No difference. Like a single person wearing hundreds of faces. The other Caleb looked at all of them. Then back at me. They're ready. Behind us. The campground loudspeaker crackled. Nobody touched it. A calm voice echoed across the valley. Attention campers. Campsite 26B is now at full capacity. A pause. Then one final announcement. Construction will now begin on campsite 26C. And beneath my boots, I felt the ground start to move.